to Criterion Corner. I'm your host, Scotty V, and this is Loki. Today we'll be talking about No Regrets for Our Youth. It's an Akira Kurosawa film. It's actually his first post-World War II film. And it was very unusual for Kurosawa at first. I didn't like the first half. It didn't really keep me engaged, and I wasn't really interested in it. It seemed like an important film. It talks about Japan pre-World War II and during World War II, and a little post-World War II. It starts out in 1933 and just really talks about protests and trying to stop the rise of fascism in Japan. And it would be really cool subject matter, but I feel like the way it was told, it just wasn't very interesting. And it was strange that the usual things you see out of Kurosawa, the composition, the beautiful shots, just everything was, it's very early on, but it doesn't look like a Kurosawa film. It doesn't feel like a Kurosawa film. It feels very much like an Ozu film at first, just the interactions between the characters and the way it's set up. And that actually plays in its favor later, because afterwards, this journey the lead girl goes on, Yuki, it definitely feels like a Kurosawa film in the second half, and she really transforms in the whole story. It goes on quite a journey of her role in the film. And I've heard this is the only Kurosawa film that really focuses on a female protagonist. So it was really an interesting take for Kurosawa, and at first she wasn't likable. Yuki wasn't likable at all, and there really wasn't anything that would make me root for her. But as the film evolves, she really becomes something else, and is such a dynamic character and really changes throughout the film. And you really root for her in the end and feel for her story. But it's at first it's a tug of war and kind of a love triangle where she's trying to decide two sides of her life. She could have one easy life, just agreeing with everything and going with the flow of Japan at that time, with one husband, and if she chose the other husband who was a rebel and kind of an outcast and really risked everything to lead Japan away from fascism. And if she go with him, she'd burn brightly and have a wild life, but it might be cut short and it's dangerous. And so she has to choose between those two worlds, and it's really about her choice. And as it goes on, the consequences of that choice, and whether Japan will change or not. And it did feel like a very important work, and kind of like I Live in Fear, but I Live in Fear I didn't like either, but they both told an important story, and so that was kind of interesting. It's not my favorite Kurosawa film, but it's not my least favorite either. That would be I Live in Fear. This one, by the end, it's such a beautiful film, so I would highly recommend seeing it. Cinematography, there are, as it goes on, there's more Kurosawa to it, and you can notice these beautiful shots and beautiful composition. There's a scene where she's talking to Naga, I believe, her other love interest, and as he's hinting towards these secrets, he turns away towards the light, and it casts a shadow of himself on the wall, and you can see the woman Yuki, and you can see the shadow as he's telling these secrets, and her emotions behind it, and it's just his shadow on the wall of his silhouette, and it's very beautiful. And there's a lot of that and some experimentation as it moves further on in the story. Definitely a beautiful film. Some beautiful shots like that, some beautiful lines of dialogue, at least in the translation of the subtitles. And so I would say It probably ranks 13th of my favorite Kurosawa films I've seen. I have a ranking I'll post in the description. I'll also post a ranking of all my Criterion rankings. But it's definitely one to see. So if you get a chance on the Criterion Channel, you can watch No Regrets for Our Youth by Akira Kurosawa, and definitely get after that because it's amazing. Well, that's it for Criterion Corner. I'm your host, Scotty V. You can see us every Wednesday at 5 p.m. here on the Scott Vancil channel. Like, share, and subscribe.